The views and opinions of the guests on the Wylena Show are those of the guests and are not necessarily the views and opinions of the hostess Wylena and or her co-host.
Have you ever been in a road rage position as a Christian or a religious person? Well, I want to know, and the inquiring minds want to know too. Hey, everybody! What's going on? What's going on? What's going on? It's about to be on. I'm telling you, I'm excited to be back with y'all today, and I tell you, the rubber's going to meet the road up off in here. Yes, indeed. I want to welcome everybody back to the Wylena Show. Y'all know who I am. I'm Wylena, the Las Vegas Queen of Gospel, and it is going to be a bomb show today. I tell you what, we've got 3 parts, y'all. This show is going over into one more part even after today. And I want to welcome everybody who is watching out there on WylenaTVShow.com, everybody who is watching on YouTube, everybody who's watching on Google Hangout and Tumblr and Facebook fans, and everybody in Pakistan and all over the whole wide world. It is awesome to see you guys back with me again today. And I tell you what, I am so excited. I'm excited. Y'all know me. I just get crazy and then crazy excitement when it's time to do the Wylena Show. I tell you, it's not a better time for me on planet Earth than time to do the Wylena Show and bring some information to everybody out there who is tuning in and watching. And so I want to welcome my guests back. I have my 2 guests that are back with me today. I tell you, it's going to be an awesome show. They're going to be sharing some information with you guys, more and more information. I have back with me ex-Mormon, present atheist, Joe Rawlins, and I also have back with me kids. Well, I tell you what, let's call him K. Scott. K. Scott is back with me, and these 2 gentlemen, they are both authors, okay, and we're going to be talking to them. But listen, before we get things rolling and moving and busting the move on y'all, I just want to give a quick shout out. I want to say a special shout out to my godson. I call him Poopy, but his name is LeSean Sims. Y'all remember that name, Mr. LeSean Sims. Just got drafted today with the Tennessee Titans, okay? And we are excited about that. The family is really excited. His mom is just ecstatic right now, Vonda. She is just she's just blowing up my phone, and she is really excited. The whole entire family is excited for Mr. LeSean Sims, who just got drafted for the Tennessee Titans. Okay, I'll tell you what, everybody, listen, we have got a show for you today, and I want to just give you a little bit of information. We're not even going to take a commercial break. That was my commercial break right there for my godson, okay? And listen, we're going to give you the phone number. When the phone lines open up at 5:15, the number is 1-866-945-1110, option number 1, okay? 1-866-945-1110, option number 1. And you can also call 702-527-4471. That's 702-527-4471. And if you call and you cannot get through, it's because our phone line is tied up. So hang up, watch the show, and call back again. That's all you got to do. Okay, the phone line is open from 5:15 to 5:55, all right? And so when you call in, make sure that you call in and be respectable to my guests. And you know, you can call in and say, hey, I beg to differ. I disagree with what you're talking about. prove what you're saying. Excuse me, but I think you're wrong about that. We have the right to agree to disagree right here on the Wiley Show, okay? You don't have to agree with everything my guests say. That's not what it's about. You can say what you think is the truth, okay? And they're here to bring their truth, all right? And you bring yours too if you want to. It's all right with me, because this is the show where the rubber meets the road right here, all right? So listen, but when you call in, you make sure you talk to my guests with respect, because if you don't, I'm going to do what I told you and what I tell you all the time, and that's introduce you to what I call a brand new Colette, and that's hang up the phone on you, okay? So don't call in here tripping and potato chipping, because that's just not going to work on the Wiley Show, all right? And when you call in, state your name and what city and state you're calling from. It's just your first name is good enough for us, and what city and state you're calling from, that will be great, and that way we know exactly where you're tuning in to the Wiley Show from. All right? And also, if you call in and you want to stay on the line and dialogue with my guests, you need to have a headset so that we don't get feedback on the show. If you do not have a headset and you have outsourced speakers that, speak out into the open, then just ask your question or make your statement, hang up the phone, and watch the show online. Okay? All right, and so we welcome all of your thoughts and all of your concerns and your questions and that type of thing. We welcome every bit of that here to the Wiley Show. Okay, so listen, I have my two guests, and they are two awesome guys. And I tell you what, some folks are just scared of the Wiley Show. Okay. Some folks are scared of the Wiley Show, but I'm telling you now, don't be scared. Don't be scared. Don't be scared. Wiley, I am harmless, okay? I am truly harmless. I am not going to do you in, at least not too bad. But I'm going to tell you right now, the rubber will meet the road when you come on this show, okay? But I have two great guests, and they are the bomb, and they were awesome enough to come back, and they actually want to come back again. So we're going to do two more parts today and one more part next week will be the final show. Okay, and so I want to welcome to the show each one of my guests. I'm going to start by welcoming Joe Rawlins. Joe is the ex-Mormon author of Horror Argument. Joe, are you with me?
I am with you, Miss Wiley. Thank you very much to you and to Mr. K. Scott. I don't know many Christians who would go a second round with me, and so he has my respect for that.
Yeah, well, I tell you what, I think K. Scott has a little oomph in him, so I don't think he's afraid to stand up for what he believes either, just like you, Joe. Okay, and that's what it takes to be on the Wiley Show. You cannot be afraid to stand up for what you believe to be the quote-unquote truth. Okay, and so with that being said, I would like to welcome to the show K. Scott, Universal Christian, and he is the author of Drive Me to Think. K. Scott, Ken, how are you doing?
I am doing great, Ms. Weiliner. Thanks so much for having me back. And Joe, I very much look forward to speaking with you through Ms. Weiliner again. I think we covered some great ground. And I just want to make sure I heard this correctly, Ms. Weiliner, that you are now calling an NFL football player poopy. Is that correct?
How dare you do that? Now you see, you're trying to cause a family feud. You're trying to cause problems in the family here. I promise my godson told me I could keep calling him poopy if I wanted to. But anyway, that's okay. You out of line for that one. How dare you throw me under the bus on my own show, buddy? That's okay. You're going to pay for that one, kid. His name is LeSean Sims, okay? Okay, so just for that, I'm going to ask you the first question. Okay, so welcome back, guys, and it's a pleasure to have both of you back. So let's get started. Let's get this party started. Are you guys ready for the rubber to meet the road?
We're ready.
We're ready. Let's do this thing.
All righty then. Okay, y'all better act like you know now. Because it's time. It's time for the rubber to meet the road. So listen, the first question, yes, it is. It's going to go to Ken. Ken, okay, so you know what? I have no control over what people ask, and so these questions were submitted to me, all right, and some are on topic and some are not, and so I may even ask both of you the questions because it doesn't matter to me who answers them. If you feel like you got an answer, then I'm gonna pass it on to you for that matter. But I'm gonna start with you, Ken. The first question from one of my viewers, listeners is, Muslims claim that Noah was their forefather, but Noah put pigs into the ark. What do you have to say about that?
That's a good one. Well, I don't think that any Muslim would deny that, pigs exist, right? So I think it's I think it's believable that if any of that happened, that pigs would have had to have survived because here they are today, right? So, but to not have them in their diet or to consider them, a lesser animal is, completely up to them and their I guess their beliefs, right? So, but as far as a lineage goes, doesn't it all make sense that we're all of the same lineage in this kind of membrane of time that we're in, right? And I think it's great for Muslims to kind of remember that we are all of the same ilk, if you will, that we all are of the same spirit, and as monotheists, we all believe in the same Father. So we are all sons and daughters of the same God. So one might ask, what are all the differences about? What is all the fighting about among the major religions? It doesn't make sense if we're all brothers and sisters of the same exact God, and we all acknowledge that. That is a fact. All of the three major religions acknowledge we are talking to, praying to the same Father God.
Okay. Thank you for that, Ken. Thank you very much for that. Ken, as a universal Christian, are you one of those? Apparently, it sounds to me as though the way you spoke that you're probably not one of those that believe that the pig is an unclean animal and that you should not eat it. Are you one of those types of Christian people?
Yes, Ms. Weiland, I am. I don't picture any of God's creatures and all of creation and all that is to be any lesser or better than any of the others. I think it's all a big tapestry of all that is, and it should all be accepted and loved that way.
Okay, Mr. Ken. Okay. Now, I have some people that would beg to differ with you on that, but we're going to move forward. Okay. So, Joe, would you like to chime in on that question right quick and just make your answer short? Because I got more questions here for you guys. What do you think?
Oh, yes. I mean, if everything that's living either has to be a descendant of something on the ark or else the story of the ark has to change. So, yeah, I mean, the ancestors of Muslims had to have been on the ark if that story is true, and so the ancestors of Jews, obviously, and the descendants of Shem. I mean, as if I'm not mistaken, the word anti-Semite or Semitic comes from Shem, the son of Noah, and so I mean, it seems like a silly thing to argue about, but at the same time, dinosaurs exist today and existed then, and long before any flood could have happened. There's lots that we can. I mean, I think that a lot of people in modern Christianity have taken to the idea of the story of Noah being allegorical, and the infighting over it is, I think, very much to the point of this question about Christians and rage and sectarian violence, any kind of violence that has to be motivated by rage, and a lot of times it's sectarian difference that drives that.
Okay. Well, thank you for that, Joe. Thank you very much for that. Now, I heard what you said, about it being, kind of silly or whatever to argue about that type of thing. But I think one of the reasons why people tend to debate and argue about the quote-unquote pig or unclean animals and that type of thing is because it is in the Bible, and those people that, pattern themselves after using the Bible, well, a lot of them on one end say that you're not supposed to eat that pig, and then there's others on the opposite end of the spectrum that says it's okay to eat the pig. So you do have quite a debate going on in the quote-unquote religious world about what food is a clean food and what food is unclean food. But that's a whole nother show. Because we can carry this show on with that alone, really, for that matter. But anyway, let's move on. My next question is also for Ken. Ken, Universal, does he? Well, they're saying to me, they're asking me to ask you, the Universal, does he believe Jesus is the only way to heaven? And then there's a question. Let's see. Okay, right. So it's two questions here. This one is for the Universal. So for the Universal, this person says, ask the Universal, does he believe that Jesus is the only way to heaven?
Okay, yeah, I heard that. I love that question, and I address this in my book, and I won't even answer this myself. I will allow the author of A Course in Miracles to answer this, and that is a channeled book. I don't know who out there knows about it or not, but it was a channeled piece in the 1960s. A woman heard a voice, and for 7 years, she basically dictated this thing, and then when she was done with it after 7 years, said, I want nothing to do with this. It's not mine. It came through me. So anyway, A Course in Miracles is named A Course in Miracles because it is not saying it's the only way. That's why it's not called The Course in Miracles. So within that book, and the author is said to be, among others, Jesus Christ, but in that he says, am I the only way? I am not the only way, but I am for you, the reader, who is now has this book in their experience. So I am the way for you if you're reading this, and it might have something to do with the couple of thousand years of time that we're in, but it's basically saying that forgiveness is the way, the light, the means to God, which again I liken to that joyous state of oneness, an awareness of oneness with everyone else, and that the only way to get there is through forgiveness. And I think Jesus was that story of forgiveness that we needed for this wrinkle of time that we're in, that says that forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do, as they thrust a spear into Jesus. So it's the ultimate forgiveness, and that will bring you to God joy.
Okay. The question wasn't mine. So my viewer that's out there tuning into the Wilderness Show, I hope you heard the answer to your question. Okay, and that was straight from the mouth of Mr. Ken himself. All right, so, well, in actuality, he said not really from him, but from Course in Miracles. So there you have it. Okay, so to the Mormon guy, ex-Mormon. I'm sorry, I'm reading it wrong.
Thank you.
The ex-Mormon, did he believe? I don't know if this is a joke or what, but I'm reading the question. Okay, I'm not asking it. Somebody else is. Okay, the question says, the ex-Mormon, did he believe Jesus was married to Mary and living in an apartment in heaven?
As a Mormon, I personally, as many Mormons do, believe that Jesus was a polygamist, that he was married to Mary Magdalene, and that he was married to Martha, the story of Mary and Martha, many people who are familiar with the Bible. That's based off of teachings from Mormon prophets, particularly Brigham Young. Also that Jesus was the result of a natural procreative process between Heavenly Father, who is Elohim or Aman, and the Virgin Mary. In other words, that when he was conceived, his mother was not a virgin, and that Mormons believe that is not accurate to call Mary a virgin. So those are some interesting facets. As far as an apartment, I think the doctrine of the Mormon Church is that there are many worlds out there, not just ours and not just God's, which is Kolob, but that God the Father, Elohim or Amen, resides on Kolob, and that Jesus presumably resides there as well, unless he has worlds of his own and potentially heavenly children of his own, which is possible. So I could go off on my ex-Mormon atheist ranting, but if it's a question about Mormon doctrine, I'm the man you want to ask. That is the doctrine.
Okay. Okay, thanks, Joe.
You're welcome.
And I'm glad you didn't go off on your other deal there. Thanks for sparing me with that one. You're gonna get the opportunity to do that very soon. Okay, so actually the next question is also for you, Joe. The next question says, I would ask the atheists, do they believe in the Easter Bunny? Do they believe in you know what? This is what I'm going to do with you on this question, Joe. I want a yes or no first, okay? So, yes or no, do you believe in the Easter Bunny?
No, I do not believe in the Easter Bunny.
Okay. Yes or no, do you believe in the Tooth Fairy?
No, I do not believe in the Tooth Fairy.
It says, so they believe in Santa. Okay, so do you believe in Santa Claus and his elves?
I do not believe in the existence of Santa Claus nor his elves.
Okay. So then the person says, this person says, if the answer is no, you fell into that, Joe. If the answer is no, then I would ask, do you believe in God?
No, I do not believe in the existence of God.
Okay, which they will say no.
Good guess.
Then, my main question, the person says, so in other words, this person expected you to say no to all of that, okay? So he got you pegged so far. So then he says, then my main question is, then my main question would be, why do you fight against God so hard since you don't believe he exists?
That is a fantastic question, actually. The opening of the question I'm not so sure about, but that last question, why can't, in the Mormon Church, they say they believe that the church is actually more true because of the existence of people like us. They say he can leave the church, but he can't leave it alone, as if people who are dissenters from belief are verification that it must be the more true, because only people who are influenced by the power of Satan or who have some kind of guilt complex would fight against it afterwards. But they're going to believe what they need to believe to continue to perpetuate a faith that, frankly, I think most people, when they observe it from the outside, Mormonism looks ridiculous. But the more ridiculous it seems, the more you need to believe and the more faith you need to have. And that faith is the real reason. It's not so much that I think that God is awful. I think that faith is bad. I think that faith, which is an assurance of something that is not observable, that is not empirically provable, drives people to violence. It drives people to abuse and misbehavior. A prime example is here in Utah. Just this last week, our governor, Gary Herbert, made a declaration with the full support of the Utah State Legislature that pornography is a public health crisis in the state of Utah. Many people don't know this, but Utah is the #1 subscriber to online pornography in the Union. But it's also the #1 state for suicide of young men between the ages of 15 and 25. It's also one of the top states, if not the top state, for abuse of prescription drugs. It's and death by abuse of prescription drugs. I mean, there's a huge crisis with non-consensual sexual violence and things like this, but none of that adapts well to the Mormon Church's question about why the behavior of sin is driving people to destruction, where pornography does. Where pornography addiction, it's now been pretty well conclusively decided, does not exist. Sex addiction does not exist. And that these are things that religious people will invent on the premise of faith in order to drive people to shame and to guilt, so that they need religion, because psychology and psychiatry and mental health claim not to be able to treat these things, or that they should be treated, but that they should treat the underlying cause.
Okay, Joe, you sort of lost me a little bit, okay? But I guess you answered the question. Why you fight fight about not believing that God exists. But I'm gonna let it go, because I just want you to know I sort of lost you a little bit in that answer, So I tell all my guests, talk to me elementary, okay? Just cut to the chase with me, because I'm one of those folks I can't consume too much at one time. Waleena got a lot on her brain up in there, so I don't have much space left. Okay. Okay, so listen, let's move on. But thank you, Joe. Thank you for that, explanation. Pretty big one. But anyway, this is for you, Ken. Why do Christians believe they have the answers to who God will judge? How do they know what the Master's plan is?
Okay, yeah, I like that one. I will say this: anyone that thinks that they are in a position to judge, or that Christians are, or that Christians are able to tell people that if you don't do X, Y, and Z, you will burn in hell, then I have to side with your listeners and your questioners that I don't think anyone is in a position to judge anyone, basically ever, nor is what we call God, or Creator, Universe, God, love, creative force, doesn't really see all of this physical time-space existence. I see it more as he or it or she or what have you is waiting for us to wake up from a bad dream, if you will. So yeah, I would say that Christians would do much better to not evangelize, if you will, but to more or less offer a feeling or a mindfulness of forgiveness to everyone they see, and say that forgiveness is such a great tool in life to find joy, and to stop with threatening and having the cross everywhere and have it be something that now is creating groups and division, as opposed to just putting out there that forgiveness is a great thing.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much, Ken. I appreciate that, and I'm sure the viewers do too. Okay, so listen, we have a caller on the line, and let's see what the caller has to say. Hello, caller. How are you? Caller, are you there? Hello, caller. Are you there?
I'm fine, and you?
Okay, will you state your name and where you're calling from, please?
Yes, I'm fine, and you?
Okay, will you state your name and where you're calling from, please?
Clayton Miller from Charlotte, North Carolina.
Okay, Mr. Clayton Miller from Charlotte, North Carolina, you have a question? You have a question?
I'm calling from Charlotte, North Carolina.
Okay. Mr. Miller, you need to turn your system down and just listen on the phone. Okay? Okay, you're just talking on the phone right now, so you cannot pay attention to the show itself. Just listen on the phone.
Okay.
All right. So you have a question? Or
Okay, I'm with you.
Okay, you have a question or a comment?
Hello?
Do you have a question? Or
1 second.
Okay, he's running too much.
Dougie.
Okay, do you hear me?
I hear you every word you're saying. So you need to turn your speakers and stuff down from the show and just pay attention to the telephone. Okay?
Hold on 1 second.
Okay.
Do you hear me?
We have no trouble hearing you at all. We've heard everything you've said, okay? So you need to just listen on the phone. Will you go ahead and state your question?
Okay, my question is,
He's trying to listen to the show and listen to the phone at the same time. Okay, caller, you cannot listen to the show.
My question is that, okay.
Yeah.
My question is that, about Adam and Eve and the flood. And I know this is off topic. But what I want to know is, I can't answer the question, but I'm looking for someone who may be able to. If God wanted to eradicate the earth,
okay, it looks like we lost the caller. All right, so I'm not sure how we lost him, but caller, when you realize that you're not on the line anymore, call us back. Okay, so meanwhile, and I believe that question is going to be for you, Ken, if the caller calls back. I do believe that question is going to be for you, especially seeing as how this person is referring to Adam and Eve. Okay. Okay, so it looks like the caller is back, so let's try this again. And caller, you need to make sure that you're only listening on the phone. Please do not pay attention to the computer. You need to just pay attention to your telephone call at this moment. All right, so go ahead with your question, please.
Okay, my question is, if God wanted to eradicate sin from the earth, why then allow sin to ride on the ark with Noah and his family?
Okay. All right. So let's see what my guests here have to say to that. Let's go ahead to Ken. Ken, I think I'm going to ask you to address that. Do you have an answer for the caller?
Yeah, sure, Ms. Wylena, and I believe he said, why would God allow sin to ride on the ark with Noah, right, and save all that was being saved? So if it was a great flood to eradicate sin, and let's put everything on the boat that we want to continue existing, why would, I think the caller said, sin be on the boat too? Well, sin is a human characteristic. Sin, much like ink on a paper, you can't see the ink without the background, right? So sin to the human is the learning tool. And, you know, it almost gets back to what Joe was commenting on earlier, right, which is faith and creating guilt. So guilt is this thing that we as humans have to overcome. Without sin, you can't have the challenge of guilt to overcome guilt, realize that we're imperfect, stop striving for perfection, and start learning how to become one and to forgive your brother and love your brother no matter who, what, where, or when, or what was on the ark.
Okay. Thank you, Ken, for responding to the caller. The caller is still on the line, but I believe that the caller is trying to do both, listen to the show and talk to you at the same time, which doesn't work well. Okay, but let me see if the caller has got his answer clear. Hello, caller, can you hear us? Hello, caller. Okay. We're gonna move on with the show. So hopefully the caller got an answer to his question. And caller, if you did not get an answer to your question, then you can feel free to call back. But please, we're asking you to please do not watch the show at the same time while you are asking your question. You need to just be on the telephone, ask your question, and then you can hang up and listen to the show at the same time. Okay? And so Joe, would you like to chime in on that?
Boy, would I. That's a great question, actually. I mean, I think that it really comes down to a question of free will. I mean, doesn't it? I mean, ultimately, the story that we learn from Adam and Eve is that humanity couldn't come into existence without sin, without knowledge of that which is good and that which is evil. The Mormon doctrine is actually very similar to what Mr. Scott was just talking about, that, you know, you could not know the sweet if you didn't know the bitter. That's from a passage in the Book of Mormon. And so that in the Book of Mormon, in fact, there's a prophet named Lehi who teaches that God made two kinds of creatures, two creations, creatures to act and creatures, things to act and things to be acted upon, and that it's up to us to choose whether we are going to continue to be creatures to act or creatures to be acted upon, which is really about free will. I mean, Noah, we know, was a sinner according to the Bible. You know, his sons, you know, nobody was perfect except for Jesus, the New Testament tells us. So I think that the question of the historicity of the story of Noah is one that raises too many questions about God's omnipotence, about God's omniscience. In other words, that God can do anything, God knows everything. If God knew the future when he created Adam and Eve and saw that he was just going to have to eradicate all of his children, well, why didn't he just kill Adam and Eve and just start over? You know, it raises a lot of questions that makes the story like Noah more allegorical, which is to say, this is less about what happened and more about important principles to learn about what is just, what is good behavior. I mean, people who are atheists feel guilt just like people who believe in God, but we don't allow it to become a central driving force of our interaction with a supreme being.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Joe. And what you stated, Joe, was basically what the caller did say was, and that really was the question. If if God was, I guess, like, concerned about sin or whatever the case may be, why didn't God just go ahead and kill Adam and Eve and start over with two sinless people again? I think that's what the caller was getting at. Why bother to allow the world to keep going, and with all these sinful people begat this one and begat that one and another one begat another one. So that's kind of what I got from the caller as to why would God, since God is God and God is powerful, all powerful, and able, and to create and uncreate, dissolve and recreate. Why not just dissolve the two sinners, the first two sinners on the planet, and give us two new unsinful creatures? But anyway, I think that's what the caller was getting at. Okay, I have one more question from listeners and viewers, and this question is, and let's see, who would it be for? Do you feel that the attitudes of religious people, do you feel that the attitudes of religious people towards religion in general are affected by the policies of individual groups that are perceived as extreme? And I'm going to give that to you, Ken.
Okay, yeah, I think that you can, I guess, broaden that and say, well, are Muslims being lumped in with the faction of that belief system that are more extreme, right? So, yeah, I would say that it's a personal decision whether or not we're going to group people in together and call them all one thing or not. And I think Joe and I are going to agree here that religion, although good for systematizing and bringing some consistency to the thought of God, and in our busy lives, religion puts some rules around things and make sure that at least one day of the week that we are thinking about religious things and God, and that it serves that purpose well, perhaps, that it also serves to divide us. And where we create groups and say we're this and you're not, is where religion starts to work against itself. So if we could just if we could all look at religions and groups and say, yeah, of course there are going to be extremists, and yeah, there are going to be those that don't go to church every Sunday, and then there's somewhere in between, can we not just all kind of accept what others believe? Sure, debate it if that opens up our thoughts and makes us think a little bit, but not allow it to divide us. I think it could really serve us well to just come together and say, yes, we either all believe in one God or don't, or many gods, and accept each other. Acceptance is a hugely it's part of forgiveness, actually. So it's a great thing.
Okay. Thank you very much, Ken, for that. Thank you so much, Ken, for that. Listen, we have another caller on the line. Hello, caller. How are you?
Hello, Eileen. This is Mary Ellen Saganovich.
Okay. Mary Ellen Saganovich, how are you doing, and where are you calling from?
Well, today I'm calling from Phoenix, Arizona.
Okay, Phoenix, Arizona. Wow. Nice. All right. So, Mary Ellen Saganovich, would you like to ask one of my guests a question, or you have a comment? What's your reason for the call today?
I had a couple of questions and a comment. First of all, I do agree with Ken that we're all connected and all one with God. And I'm a student of the Course in Miracles because, as you know, that's what my book was based on, A Course in Miracles. I had a couple of questions for Joe, and we might have done this last week, I don't know. But I know as an atheist, if you do not believe in any supreme power,
yes, I'll go ahead and...
As such, then what supreme power do you believe in within yourself or outside yourself? What do you believe in or know to be your truth? Is my first question to Joe.
Yes, in answer to your question, Mary Ellen, I do not believe in any supernatural force at all, or any kind of objective morality. I believe morality is subjective, and that life and existence is random, which is to say that it was created without purpose and as a result of natural arbitrary consequence.
Okay. Joe, I think what she didn't hear your answer, so I believe she hung up so that she could hear your answer. So I'm going to ask you to please repeat your answer, Joe.
Oh, sure, I'd be happy to. So as atheists, we don't believe in gods of any kind, including any kind of higher power, supernatural power, which is you know, as atheists, there's not really a central authority of atheism. It's really more of a word that describes what people are not. Just, you know, as a difference to, we don't have a word for people who don't believe in elves. We don't have a word for people who don't believe in tarot cards, but we do have a word for people who don't believe in God. And as a person who doesn't believe in God personally, and most atheists I know, we don't believe that there is any supernatural force, that all existence, as far as we can tell, happened as a result of arbitrary and natural consequence and not for any kind of divine purpose.
Okay. Okay, thanks, Joe. Thank you very much, Joe, for that. It looks like the caller is back on the line, so maybe she heard your answer since I had you to repeat it. And so, Mary Ellen, if you're back on the line, are you there? Okay. So what I'm gonna
I'm here.
Okay. So what I'm gonna tell you, Mary Ellen, is if you don't have a system where that you can hear at the same time, then ask your question and hang up and then listen to the show, because you probably can't do both. So make your statements and go ahead and make all your statements and ask your questions, and then my guests, they'll be ready to answer once you hang up. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, thanks, Lorena. Okay, and Joe, this is for you again. Without faith, how is there hope? I heard you say that you didn't believe in faith, and I think you're connecting faith with religion, which I have issues with myself. But I can understand the church things, because I think churches are businesses, and there must be faith. Faith in love, faith in a greater power than yourself. How do you have faith in a future or even tomorrow if you don't have faith? And then I'll hang up and listen. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mary Ellen, for calling in.
So.
Okay, Joe, you got the floor.
Thank you very much, Ms. Weileiner. Mary Ellen, that's a great question, actually. That's a question I grapple with in my book, and that I grappled with on leaving faith. I certainly understand what you're saying, that you have difficulty with religion. I'm going to go ahead and presume we're talking organized religion, as there are a lot of people who don't like the idea of organized religion, but still have faith so that they can have that hope. I think that when we look to the future as atheist people who don't believe that there is a purpose to the universe, who believe that the universe is random, we look to critical thinking. What has happened in the past is likely to happen as a natural consequence of events. Sometimes that is not, always the case. There is always a random factor, but what we can expect in the future is generally what we have seen in the past. For example, death. Faith gives people hope that they will see those who have, passed on into death before us. Everything we know about death says that death is final, and that that is not an encouraging thought to anyone. But where religion or faith in general drives people to hope for that not to be the case, as critical thinkers, as skeptics, we say, well, it may be inconvenient, but it is nonetheless true. And I would rather know what is true and confine my hope to what I can verify empirically to be true. So, I don't believe that there's life after death. I don't believe that there's a purpose behind life other than what we give it. Now, that being said, we are here. So if we're going to talk about how does an atheist have hope, I have hope as an atheist that we can have a world where people don't have to hate, that we can have a world where people can live in harmony and peace, and much of that can be done with the teachings of people like Jesus, the teachings of people like Gandhi, the teachings of people like Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., that those things have to be seen from a standpoint of critical thinking, and not just because they're written in holy books or because we believe that they are ordained of God, but because we as objective thinkers say, or excuse me, as critical thinkers, say this is what's good for us as a species, this is what's going to help us to evolve and to live in peace, and we should embrace it regardless of where it comes from, and not just be obedient to things because we believe that they came down from a higher power.
Okay, thank you, Joe. Mary Ellen Saganovich, who called in, I hope Joe was able to answer your question for you. And if not, I know you got plenty more for him. Okay, so listen, we have another caller on the line. Hello, caller, how are you?
All right, and you, Clayton Miller again, calling back.
Okay.
Question in part was answered by the young man with the beard. I didn't catch his name, but anyway, he really touched on what I wanted to know, but I wanted to know from the other guy, what was the purpose of allowing Adam and Eve to continue on? If they had eaten from the forbidden fruit, wouldn't it have been easier to kill them off as opposed to kill however many people were living at the time of Noah? And once Noah got on the ship, knowing that sin was in man, he was born in sin and shaped in iniquity, where was this going to go if you're allowing sin a ride on the ark? Wouldn't sin still have the same privilege to restart if it's already in the people that have escaped the flood? And I'm gonna hang up now and go back to my computer so I can hear what your answer is. Thank you.
Thank you, caller. Woo! The rubber meets the road on the Wiley Show. I thought I wasn't going to get a chance to say that today, but there it is. There it is. Woo! There it is. Okay, so Ken, I want you to know, buddy, the floor is all yours.
Okay.
Go ahead, Ken.
Yeah, good stuff. Oh, I love it. It's getting lively here. So yeah, let me, I guess, start by saying my belief is that none of this physical time-space craziness is God's idea. A Course in Miracles says that it was a tiny, mad idea by us to split off and go have an experience and see if something could be better or something was there to be learned or something's better than blissful, joyous eternity. So this tiny, mad idea causes us to split off and go have a fake or dreamlike time-space experience. And of course, that's going to be one that is wrestles with sin. So it is part of the experience. A Course in Miracles says that God is really not seeing any of this. God is all that is, but it's the blissful joyfulness that underlies it all. We, however, are going through our human-based, survival-programmed, competition-based egoic experience that kind of pits us one against the other, all to be overcome eventually through forgiveness and through overcoming guilt and fear, to where we realize that you, different person from around the world with different beliefs, are at your core the exact same as me. We just have different struggles and experiences and perhaps many lifetimes that our souls go through before we realize what heaven is called, which is not a place or a condition so much as an awareness of perfect oneness. And that awareness of perfect oneness is that Joe has his beliefs, I have my beliefs, but ultimately we are completely and totally connected as one.
Well, that's kind of deep. That's kind of deep. I like what you said now, though, Ken, and I don't do too much liking and disliking on my show, because I don't try to show no favoritism. So don't get me wrong out there, y'all. I'm just saying what I liked about what he said was that you have your beliefs and he has his belief, because the world is so full of people with their various beliefs. So we do, in a way, we sort of have to respect others' beliefs, and I think that's one of the things that's going on. That's why we have the Wylena show too, y'all, because we got so many beliefs out here, Okay. So anyway, to my callers, thanks callers for calling in, and I hope you guys got what you were looking for from my guests. But remember, this is a 3-part show, so we'll be back again next week with the same 2 guests, just in case if you weren't able to get your point across. But the caller that called in, Mary Ellen Saganovich, thank you so much. Just so you know, Mary Ellen Saganovich is an author too. She is actually a previous guest from the Wiley Show, and she's just a lover of the show. And she's an author as well. Healing Words. Oh shoot, she's gonna kill me. But anyway, she has a book on the links page. Go over there and look for Healing Words. I got so much on my brain, I keep telling y'all that. Okay, so anyway, listen, guys, I want to ask a couple questions here. And the caller also, I was going to say, the caller, Mr. Miller from Charlotte, North Carolina, who also called in. Woo, that was a bomb question. That was a bomb question right there. You know, I don't know really who can answer that. Why did, because, I guess that's a good point, though. Apparently, there was sin on the ark. That's interesting. Anyway, well, whatever. I didn't build the ark, and I didn't make the command, so it is what it is. I'm just a little peon down here on this little planet trying to make a point, All right, so I have a question. Once again, now we're done with the viewers and listeners' questions, and we got about 4 minutes left here on the show. So, guys, I'm going to ask you a couple questions here, and I need you to answer me as quickly as possible because we are running out of time. All right? Since you are a religious person, Ken, do you feel that religious people should do what you want them to do and when you want them to do it?
Okay, yeah, I think I understand you. No, listen. I think we'd all be better served to respect that of each individual. It's your experience. So in my experience, I have this thought. I've had this experience. I believe this about abortion. I believe this about politics. All of what I believe is shaped by my experience, right? So what I don't want to do is impose what I've gleaned from my experience on someone else. So that is their experience, and they have their reasons, either in this lifetime and perhaps previous lifetimes, that shapes what they're thinking and doing and what they're passionate about and not. So if we can keep our experiences separate and not impose it all over everyone else, I think we'd be a much more peaceful humanity, if you will.
Okay, all right, thank you. Okay, so listen, one more quick question here, and then I'm going to leave you guys with a scenario to ponder. Okay, Joe, you got like 30 seconds to answer this. Since you are not a religious person, do you believe that people should do what you want them to do and when you want them to do it?
Thank you. I think that we spend so much time pointing the finger of blame, saying your religion did this, your religion did this, your religion did this, that we as a society would be better when we say religion did this. That does not necessarily mean that every individual person does not benefit from religion.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, so listen, scenario, guys, and then we're getting up out of here. I want you to ponder this and come back next week with my answer. Okay, scenario. You are driving around in your car for the past 5 to 10 minutes in the work parking lot looking for a space. Of course, you are already late for work. You finally find one, so you think. And you wait patiently for this person to come out of the space, of course, sitting there patiently with your turn signal on. So happy that you found the space finally, of course. Of course, you are a religious person. And along comes someone from the other direction and jumps in front of you, whips into the space. After the other person backs out, you and the other person both know that you were there first. OMG. What is your response? Do you cuss? Do you give the finger? Do you get out and say you need to move your car? I was here first. Did you see me sitting there with my turn signal on? What is your problem? You bleep, bleep, bleep. Or do you smile and drive away and say, God bless you? Hey, everybody, it's time to bust the boom. We got to get up out of here. We got to get up out of here. We got to get up out of here. I want y'all to know it's been a great show today. I mean, the rubber has met the road right here on the Wild Eater Show today, and I am excited about it. And I'll tell you what, I've had the great guests. And my great guests are going to be coming back with me again next week. And we are going to have an awesome show next week. And it's going to be the final show, part 3. And so for all of you who are tuning in out there, if you got questions, you're going to have to call in with the next week, or we're going to be done. These two guys, I want to say thank you so much to Joe Rawlins, ex-Mormon, former the president of Atheist, and to Scott, Universal Christian. Thank you so much, guys. Appreciate you for being on the show today. And we will see you again next week. And y'all know what show this is. This is the Wild Eater Show. Y'all know who I am. I'm Wild Eater, the Las Vegas Queen of Gospel. And this is the show, and this is where the rubber meets the road. We'll see you next week.